Today I'm going to teach you how to make the thickest, creamiest yogurt that will save you tons of money at the grocery store. I'm going to go over two methods, one of which will only take you 3 minutes of hands-on time. I'll go over how to make yogurt with equipment, without equipment, and I'll answer all of your burning questions, such as, what type of milk do I use? How do I make Greek yogurt? How do I flavor yogurt? How long does it take? What's whey? And much, much more. Ingredients. 2 things. That's it. You don't need all the junk that's in a lot of the yogurts at the grocery store. You need milk and active cultures. Where do you get those active cultures? You get them from yogurt. So you do have to buy yogurt to get active cultures, but once you make your first batch, you'll just save a little bit and use that to ferment your next batch. Type of milk. I use whole milk because it makes the thickest, creamiest yogurt, and I'm not afraid of full fat dairy. If you want to use a lower fat milk, you can, but you might end up with a more watery end product because a lower fat milk will have a higher water content. Some people use powdered milk to thicken, but you could just skip all of that and use whole milk. Type of yogurt. You need one with active cultures in it, because that's how you're gonna ferment your milk. It will say on the container. Choose wisely, however. Use a yogurt that you like because the cultures in that yogurt are gonna influence the taste of your final product to some extent. I use this one very often. It is grass-fed, blah, 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 all the good stuff, but it's super expensive and I just can't afford to buy it all the time. I like the quality, so I use it to get started with my yogurt and then I make further batches and don't have to keep buying this. Sweetened yogurt. Should you use it? I'm not a big fan of sweetened yogurt to begin with. However, some people do use it. It can potentially work. I wouldn't recommend it because the sugar in your yogurt can compete with the bacteria you're trying to grow and could turn everything into a big old runny mess. Let's make yogurt. I am going to show you the super fast 3 minutes of hands-on time yogurt method that I promised I would show you. We're gonna refer to this method as the no-boil method. We're gonna do it in an Instant Pot, but have no fear, you don't have to. You can do it over the stovetop. And for this method, you absolutely have to use ultra pasteurized milk. We'll get into why later. Let's do it. I'm using a 1/2 gallon of whole milk and a 1/2 cup of whole Greek yogurt. For the other method that I'm gonna also teach you later, I'm gonna be using the same thing. For this method, your yogurt is cold, your milk is cold, and that's fine because you're gonna warm them both together. First step, pour your milk in. Second step, put your yogurt in. Mix well. Pop your top on, hit the yogurt button, and set for 10 hours. I like to let my yogurt ferment for 10 hours. You need a minimum of 5 to 6 hours. The longer you ferment, the more tart your yogurt's gonna be and the more probiotics it will have. So if you don't have an Instant Pot, I promise you're still good. You're just gonna warm it on the stovetop. Warm it to 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 5 degrees. And then you just have to figure out how to keep it warm for 10 hours. That's the tricky part. There are many creative ways to do this. You could pop your yogurt in a container, in a cooler, and surround that with some water that's been warmed. You could surround it with bottles of water that have been warmed. You could put it in the oven if your oven light gives off meaningful heat. You could put it in a dehydrator if you have one of those. Or you could put it in a crock pot, get it to the right temperature, turn your crock pot off, and wrap everything in towels to keep it warm for the night. I know it sounds crazy, but it actually works. And that's what we're gonna do today with another batch. Now on to the next method, which I shall call the boil method. Don't be scared, again, if you don't have an Instant Pot here. I've got 2 now, so it really looks like you have to have one, but you don't. This method can also be done over the stovetop. It's called the boil method. That's what I'm calling it anyway, because we have to boil our yogurt first. Why do we have to boil our yogurt? Well, we have to boil our yogurt because we're gonna use regular pasteurized milk, not ultra pasteurized milk, or raw milk. And we have to boil the milk for 2 reasons. One, because even though in regular pasteurized milk, for example, all the crazy pathogenic bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella has been killed off, the other bacteria that could be in the milk is still live and thriving. And we don't want to have that bacteria around to compete with the bacteria we're trying to grow. And of course, raw milk, we need to kill everything as well. You can use ultra pasteurized milk for this method, which is what I'm doing today, just to keep things consistent, but it's overkill. And the reason is ultra pasteurized milk has already been heated to super high temps. And so it's already done the two things we're trying to do, which is kill off all that extra bacteria. And the second thing, which I actually haven't mentioned yet, which is to denature the milk proteins. And that's just a fancy way of letting you know you're gonna get a thicker end product. And that is 100% what you want when you're making yogurt. So we're gonna heat our milk to 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius. In the Instant Pot, I'm just gonna use the saute setting. You can do it via stovetop, stir frequently, or use a double boiler so you don't burn the bottom. And with the Instant Pot, once I get it to that temperature, I'm just gonna turn it off so it doesn't keep rising too hot. You're gonna keep your milk at that 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius mark for about 10 minutes. You can definitely go longer to 20, 30 minutes if you wanna be sure everything's dead and your milk will be nice and thick. Once I've heated my milk to 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius, I then need to cool it down to 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 5 degrees. You can wait for this to cool down, but I'm not that patient, so I'm gonna use an ice bath. Now that I've got my yogurt cooled down to the happy place that this other Instant Pot is maintaining it at, I'm gonna go ahead and add my yogurt. It's important to note that my yogurt has been hanging out on the counter, getting to room temperature, so I'm not throwing cold yogurt into the mix. And the most important thing is that you don't add your yogurt until you get to this point. Because if you add your yogurt when your milk is boiling hot, it's gonna kill off all the active cultures you're trying to grow. Yogurt in, mix well. This Instant Pot does not have a yogurt button, so essentially it's just a closed container that's not really gonna keep my yogurt warm. So I will wrap this like a baby in not one, but 2 towels to really keep it warm, and we will see it in the morning. It's morning, let's check out our yogurt. It's like opening a present on Christmas morning. No boil method. Looks great. Boil method. Also great. Now to strain. This is the difference between regular and Greek yogurt. Once you strain it, it becomes Greek yogurt. You could use a strainer like this that I've bought, or you could make your own. I'm using a fine mesh strainer with a nut milk bag inside, and then I'm gonna put that on top of my pot. This recipe makes so much. I'm gonna also make some regular yogurt, no straining involved. Now we're gonna get our yogurt into the fridge to strain for about 4 hours. There's something magical that happens when you let your yogurt hang out in the fridge after you've made it for a few hours before you start stirring it up. It helps it set so you get that nice, thick, creamy yogurt. The yogurt has now been straining for about 5 hours. Let's check it out. No boil, boil, unstrained regular yogurt. You'll notice the whey has separated nicely from the yogurt, but what is whey? It is the yellow liquid that separates from yogurt that you see on the top of a yogurt that you buy from the store. And technically, this is acid whey, not to be confused with sweet whey, which is the byproduct of making certain cheeses, like cheddar. This whey has a little bit of protein in it, but not that much. It is, however, a great source of B vitamins, B2 and B12, calcium, and don't forget probiotics. They actually sell this stuff now at the store, flavored. So you can just buy whey to drink because it's like a probiotic health drink, but you could also just drink this stuff. You could add whatever you want, honey. I don't know. I've never done that, but that's whey. Don't throw it out. It has many great uses. You can use it in baking, throw it in a smoothie, throw it on your dog's food. That is definitely a win. Marinate meat in it. I mean, the list goes on, so you don't have to throw this stuff out. Sweetening this stuff. Throw some honey in there. Maple syrup, fruit. Make a fruit puree over your stovetop. There are many options. Last but not least, if you're still with me, to start your next batch of yogurt, like we said, you're gonna use a bit from this batch. You can only do that about 3 or 4 times. After that, your yogurt is gonna start to get weak and it's not gonna produce thick yogurt. Then you will have to buy more yogurt to restart. There are some heirloom starters out there that will apparently outlive you. Let me know if you've tried one. Happy yogurt making and happy money saving. The next video that's gonna pop up at the end of this one is for my chocolate milkshake. It is delicious. You're gonna wanna drink it all day long. It's healthy. You can customize it. You can put Greek yogurt in it or not. Enough said. Remember, eat real food. See you in the next video. And it's gonna... Fruit. Throw a fruit puree. Throw a fruit puree. You can use... Woo! I'm gonna use a fine mesh strainer